Abuja, please be kind to me. I just want to save Mama from her sickness.
Abuja, the city of lights. A place where people come to chase dreams. But many end up lost in the shadows. Behind every shining building. Behind every loud party. There are stories the world never hears. Zara and her new friends were one of those stories. Zara, a 22-year-old girl from a small village, traveled to Abuja in search of greener pastures and to raise money for her sick mother's medical bills. Filled with hope and determination, she stepped into the bustling city, unaware of how drastically her life was about to change. Holding nothing but a nylon bag and 1,000 naira, Zara stepped into Abuja with hope burning in her chest. She believed that in the city she would find a better life, one far brighter than the struggles her village offered. She dreamed of earning enough to send money home, to pay for her mother's medical bills, to finally give her family the comfort they deserved. But the moment she arrived, reality struck harder than she expected. The city was louder, faster, and far less forgiving. Jobs were scarce, people were hurried, and survival seemed to demand more than she came with. They always say Abuja welcomes you with open arms, but only after it tests you first. For 4 long days, Zara roamed the streets tired, hungry, completely alone. She didn't know anyone. She didn't know where to sleep. In the scorching afternoons, she walked endlessly under the burning sun. At night, she curled up in an abandoned building, hoping morning would bring something better. On the 3rd night, her nightmare deepened. A group of boys came to where she slept. They rough-handled her, took advantage of her, and left her broken, her legs weak, her spirit shaken, her hope dimmed. By the 4th day, her strength finally gave out. After walking for hours under the unforgiving heat, her vision blurred, her knees buckled, and she collapsed by the roadside. But life did not abandon her. A young woman named Amina saw her fall and rushed toward her without hesitation. Amina knew suffering and knew what it meant to struggle alone in this same city. She lifted Zara gently, gave her water, wiped her face, and held her trembling hands. Then she took her to the small apartment she shared with another girl, a tiny place, but filled with something Zara had not felt in days. That was where Zara met Bella. Bold. Flashy. Confidence. A girl who had already learned how Abuja works. In that small room, 3 lives came together. 3 young women trying to survive in a city that never shows mercy. The days that followed were not easy for the 3 of them. Bills kept piling up, and in Abuja, nothing waited for anyone. Rent was expensive, food was expensive, even breathing felt like it had a price attached to it. Every day was a reminder that survival in the city was not gentle. The girls tried to cope at first. They looked for small jobs, they cut down on spending, they shared what little they had. But it was never enough. Whatever they earned disappeared almost immediately into rent reminders, transport fares, and basic needs. There was no support coming from anywhere. No rescue plan. Just the 3 of them against a city that moved too fast for their pockets. At first, Bella suggested they try something, anything that could bring quick money. Zara resisted strongly. She was afraid of what that kind of life could lead to. Amina stayed quiet, caught between fear and desperation. But the pressure didn't stop. Days turned into weeks. Empty stomachs became normal. Eviction warnings started showing up. The landlord stopped being patient. Even their small hope of something will work out slowly began to fade. And that was when reality became clear to them, not as a choice, but as a corner. It was not that they wanted that life. It was that they felt they had no other way left to survive. Bella spoke first again, her voice low, tired, not excited, just defeated. She said they could not keep waiting for miracles that were not coming. Amina didn't argue this time. Zara still hesitated, but she looked around the small room they were living in, the unpaid bills, the empty food shelf, and the silence of their struggle. Bella had a younger brother, and ever since their parents died, she had been responsible for his school fees and survival. Every unpaid bill felt like she was failing the only family she had left. Amina had run away from home after her parents tried to force her into marrying an old Alhaji because of a debt her father owed him. But in her mind, she still held on to a plan. If she could make enough money, she would return, clear her father's debt, and finally buy back her freedom. Zara's burden was different but just as heavy. She was struggling to pay for her mother's medical bills, and every day the hospital demands grew louder while her ability to help grew weaker. 3 girls. 3 different pains. One city that offered no mercy. At first, they tried to survive honestly, small jobs, tight budgeting, and endless hope that something would change. But nothing did. The bills kept coming, the needs kept increasing, and help never arrived. Bella was the first to speak about finding faster money, driven by the fear of her brother dropping out of school. Amina hesitated, torn between her fear of danger and her dream of buying back her freedom. Zara resisted the most, holding on to the hope that she could still save her mother without losing herself in the process. But with no family support, no stable income, and no relief in sight, their situation slowly tightened around them. And in that pressure, relentless and unforgiving, the options they once rejected began to feel less like a choice and more like the only path left to survive. There was no help coming. Just pressure, from every side. Slowly, painfully, the idea they once rejected became the only option they felt life had left them. Not because they were chasing luxury, but because survival had become impossible without it. And so, with heavy hearts and no real alternatives, they stepped into a path they never imagined for themselves, one shaped not by desire, but by desperation, pressure, and the harsh reality of trying to survive in a city that gave them no room to breathe. The girls didn't choose the hookup life because it was fun. They chose it because hunger does not listen to excuses. Rent does not wait. Life does not pause. One night turned to 2. 2 nights turned to many. And soon, the girls found themselves inside the Abuja nightlife. Bright lights. Expensive perfumes. Powerful men with dangerous smiles. They wore beautiful clothes and took pictures for social media. From one party to another, from one big man to another. Bella made sure her brother's school fees were paid regularly without missing a single deadline. But despite this, her brother often worried about her. He would ask questions about how she was managing to get the money, concerned about her well-being. Each time he asked, Bella would calmly reassure him, telling him not to worry about her and to focus on his studies. Amina eventually succeeded in paying off her father's debt, achieving what she once believed would secure her freedom. However, even after settling everything, she chose not to return home. What began as a means of survival had gradually become a lifestyle she had grown attached to. The money, the attention, and the ease it brought made it difficult for her to walk away. The thought of going back to her old life no longer appealed to her, even though she was no longer under any obligation to stay away. So she remained where she was, not because she had to, but because she no longer wanted to let go of what she had become used to. Zara, on her own side, was able to pay off her mother's medical bills, and with time her mother's health improved. After recovering, her mother urged her to come back home. But Zara refused. Even though things had gotten better, she no longer felt connected to the life she left behind. She had grown used to being on her own, making her own decisions, and living in the new world she had found herself in. So despite her mother's plea, she chose not to return home, holding on instead to the life she had already become part of. But deep inside, something far bigger than their expectations was quietly building something they could not yet see or understand. The choices they had made, the paths they had taken, and the lives they thought they were controlling were all slowly moving toward a dangerous turning point. Because in a city like Abuja, silence never lasts forever. Every hidden life, every secret meeting, every decision made in the dark eventually attracts attention. And this time, it wasn't just consequences coming. Something dangerous was approaching them, something tied to the world they had stepped into, a world where nothing is truly private and every connection has a cost. And one night, inside a crowded VIP party, a man watched them from across the room. Chief Okoye. A man feared in Abuja. A man whose money came from darkness. His eyes stayed on them the whole night. Cold. Calculating. Like he already owned them. But the girls were too blinded by the sudden luxury to notice. New wigs. New clothes. New phones. For the first time in their lives, they tasted a life they had only seen on Instagram. Unknown to them, Chief Okoye was watching them silently, as if waiting for the perfect opportunity for them to enter his trap. Then came the night everything changed. A black-tinted Jeep pulled up beside them. The driver told them they were wanted for a private VIP event. The money sounded too good to refuse. They entered the car, laughing, thinking it was just another night. But that Jeep did not take them to a party. It took them to a place where screams are never heard. A place filled with men who hide behind power. Men who use girls for rituals and sells their part to foreigners who love eating human flesh. That night, the girls faced monsters. Amara was lucky to overpower two of the butchers and she escaped, but Amina and Bella were not as lucky as Amara. They were slaughtered. No one knew where they were taken. No one saw the fear in their eyes. No one came for them. Because the men who took them were too powerful. Too connected. Too protected. Days passed before their bodies were found. Two young women, Bella and Amina. Beautiful, full of dreams. Dumped like trash in an empty dump site with their private part and some of their organs missing. Amara cried when she saw them on the news. She quickly left Abuja and went back to her village with few of her things to start a new life in the village. Abuja moved on. Because in Abuja, justice is not for everyone. The men behind their death were never caught. The case was silenced. The files disappeared. Power covered the truth like a blanket. But their story did not die. Zara uses her life experiences to guide and tell people not to venture into hookup or venture into anything that brings quick money. She also told them that there is no shortcut to success, that they should stick to their job and be patient. Her life story became a warning. 3 girls came to Abuja chasing hope. Only one made it back to tell the story. If this story moved you, share it with someone you care about. You never know whose life could be changed by hearing this warning. Follow Moonlight Story for more unforgettable stories that shine a light on real-life struggles, hard truths, and lessons that matter.